very grateful. I've learned a whole lot from this talk, and I'll look into it and maybe have something intelligent to say about it later, but I don't really know. But a couple of things that I'm very nervous about. One is the idea that somehow or other morality is just another institution along with summer vacations. I don't think it is. I think the account that I gave in those two books is designed in a sense to be morally neutral. Good institutions and bad institutions have the same structure. St. Francis of Assisi and Adolf Hitler both occupied status functions within a system of collective intentionality. Now, there is a crucial point of connection, however, and that's this. Institutions generate desire-independent reasons for action, and in general, as Kant saw, morality is about desire-independent reasons for action. Kant saw that if everybody just does what they feel like doing, then there aren't any moral questions. If that always worked out fine, just do your own thing, as they say in Berkeley, and everything's fine, then there'd be no problem. The problems arise because often you have a moral obligation to do something where there is no institutional structure to support you. Now, to pursue this idea further, on my account, all desire-independent reasons for action at bottom have to be self-created. You're in the institution, but all the same, you've got to decide whether or not you're going to act on the desire-independent reason for action that the institution has given you. So a moral consideration enters into institutional behavior. Now, of course, in real life, we just go along with most institutions. But to do that throughout is a form of bad faith. I mean, you can't treat morality as if it were just one more institution. It isn't. It has institutional consequences, and of course institutions lock into morality, the institution of promising, the institution of property, all of those lock into morality. But I see morality as having a much broader basis, a much broader scope than that of institutional obligations. Institutional obligations are a special form, but even within institutional obligations, you still have to make up your mind whether or not it's morally justifiable to act on the institutional norms.
Right. I certainly would like to reply, but I think my reply would be too long from this afternoon.
Okay.
Yeah, I really think I would have to clarify the concepts before intelligently replying. Yeah.
So let's open the discussion.
And don't worry, those of you who are interested, it's going to be published sooner or later, so you will not be robbed of the contents.
So any questions, any comments whatsoever?
Perhaps if nobody asks, let me just put it briefly like this. Or maybe the crucial question for me would be like, what would be these moral obligations without any institutional framework?
Yeah. I think that human beings in possession of a language are capable of understanding moral obligations outside an institutional framework. So take the simple a parental relation. I think the parents are under obligations to the children independent of a socially recognized institution of marriage and family. That's a case where the mother has desire-independent reasons for supporting the child, even though it's prior to institutional recognition. Now, the basic human institutions are extensions of more biologically basic forms of social organization. So private property is an extension of just sheer possession, yea, Meinigkeit, you know, hanging on to it, and getting other people to recognize that. So you get property, marriage, and simple forms of government just growing out of natural pre-institutional forms. However, the crucial point is this, and I haven't got an adequate defense of this, but I'm convinced it's right. You can't have desire-independent reasons for action without some kind of language. You've got to, language is the basic institution. So you have to have a language in order to have desire-independent reasons for action. Why? Because they can only exist insofar as they are represented as existing. See, the animal can't act on its institutions, act on its desire, independent reasons for action, on its obligations, without some kind of concept of obligation. And the concept of an obligation is not given to you by the sheer physics of your experiences. You're just eating food and catching fish and eating them. That doesn't give you the concept of an obligation. You have to have some kind of linguistic representation in order to recognize and act on obligations. So the picture that I get is not all desire independent reasons for action require institutions, though all institutional facts give you desire independent reasons for action. However, only an animal that has a language, only an animal that has some system of representation of a linguistic kind can have desire independent reasons for action, roughly speaking, because in order to reason from and act on, for example, obligations, you have to have the concept of an obligation, and you can't have that without some way of expressing it.
Are there any other questions or comments?
I would just comment to what you said now.
Yeah.
It's not well prepared to do, so I will try to be very brief. One quite favorite account of the difference between moral rules and other institutions is that moral rules involve something that is called meta-punishment. That is, we do not punish only those who do not conform to the moral rules, but we also punish those who do not punish those who do not conform to the rules. And this practice of meta-punishment makes the moral habits or moral rules very stable social institutions, unlike other institutions. But this process of meta-punishment, I believe, is something that does not necessarily require a linguistic capacity. Or does it?
I don't know. I don't find it clear enough. I don't find the notion clear enough so far, but it looks to me like if you're punishing somebody because they did not perform their obligations, then it seems to me you have to suppose that they're capable of reflecting on and acting on their obligations. See, it's different. If you punish somebody because they didn't do what you wanted them to do, that's where you punish your dog. But if you punish somebody because they did not act on what they should have or did recognize as their moral obligations, it looks to me like you got to have some language for that. My doggy Gilbert, he's a Belnazinen, a Bernese mountain dog. He's a very intelligent dog, but he does not sit there and reflect on his obligations and his rights and duties. No, he does what he feels like doing, and I try to get him to feel like doing what I want him to feel like doing. But that's different from raising children. Raising children, you have to give them a sense of obligations. Now, I don't have a theory of morality, and I've put it off about as long as I reasonably can, because I thought the whole subject was so sordid when I was an undergraduate that I was aesthetically repelled by the subject of ethics. But I think it's time. I mean, I think I should try to say something about it, and this is partly forcing me to reflect on it. But I am convinced that Kant was right, that you have to have the concept of desire independent reasons for action, like obligations, rights, duties, and entitlements. And to do that, you got to have some linguistic means for recognize them. Deontology can only exist if it's recognized as existing, and it can only be recognized by a creature that has the linguistic capacity for representing its existence.